about myself in a moment. First, though, please save your questions to the end, and because most of them might be answered during the presentation. But we're going to start with a pop quiz. So what exactly is Moxie? Maine's official soft drink. The I can't pronounce that word. Anglicization of muscus, which is Abnaki for dark or black water. Or an adjective meaning someone who is full of pep or full of nerve, is someone with a lot of courage. A, B, or C?
All the above.
All the above, you're correct. Governor John Baldacci signed a proclamation into law in 2005, making it the official soft drink of the state of Maine. Ever heard of Moxie Falls?
Yes.
Beautiful place. That's where it comes from. And because it's an adjective, it has been borrowed by other products.
Yeah,
I highly recommend that you do not sample this as a drink.
That would not be a good idea.
I heard it was good for COVID.
Yeah. Moxie is the store brand at Lowe's home improvement centers. So you can wipe your backside with Moxie toilet paper. You can clean your windows with the Moxie brand version of Windex, or you can clean out that strange thing that you want out of your head with brain bleach. All right, I promise you there's only one correct answer out of three options this time. Where was Moxie invented?
B.
Lisbon Falls, Lowell, Massachusetts, or Union, Maine?
B.
You dress up far too nice.
I'm going to go with Massachusetts.
Planet Earth.
B. Lowell, Massachusetts,
Yep.
believe it or not. It was imported to us, but we'll cover more why later. One more question, and then we'll get to the rest of this. When was Moxie first introduced to the public? 1906, 1885, 1884, 1876, or 1870?
1884.
A.
I'm going to go 85.
A. Maybe the only 1900 one.
1875.
A.
This is a trick question.
Is it on the
We
Don't know. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, damn.
But all these dates do have something to do with Moxie. Moxie, as you know it now, with the Curvy X, dates to 1906, when they had to clean up their act because of the Food and Drug Act. Prior to 1906, it was Beverage Moxie Nerve Food, which was patented in 1885, but it is believed it was produced and sold prior to the patent as early as 1884. Prior to being carbonated, it was Moxie Nerve Food, a medicine you took by the teaspoonful. There's a lot of literature that points to 1876 as the date it was introduced. But there's also a newspaper article from 1926 which reads, 56 years ago, Moxie was invented as a stomach medication in Lowell. You take 56 from 1926 and you get 1870. So who knows the actual start date? It's not in any of the documents that I have access to.
The correct answer is yes.
Briefly about me. Alden Bushytail. I've been in the furry fandom on and off since the late 1980s, starting out in alt fan
Oh, I saw
furry.
that Betsy Beaver one. Yeah.
And I wandered away from that to another group called Alt Devil Bunnies, which was a shared reality creative writing group about killer bunny rabbits trying to take over the world. As Usenet petered out, I moved back into the furry fandom, kind of lurking, and then about 10 or so years ago, because of Betsy the Beaver, I started getting active again, mostly here in Maine. On the real life side, I'm a latecomer to Moxie. I was raised on diet soft drinks in the 70s and 80s, back when they were saccharinated, sodium saccharide. If you ever had Sweet and Low in your coffee, it's got kind of a bitter aftertaste. That's because of the saccharine. And then around 84 or so, they started to move away from saccharine to aspartame. And I was looking for that bitter aftertaste because that's what I was used to. So I moved to Moxie. After graduate school, still Usenet hadn't quite petered out yet, I found a group called Alt Fan Moxie. Through that group, I was introduced to the New England Moxie Congress, the official Moxie fan club. It's both people who love to drink it or love to collect. It was through them that I discovered the Moxie Festival in Lisbon Falls, which blew my mind that I didn't know about it because I lived 30 miles up the road in Augusta. And then through the Moxie Festival, I came across the Matthews Museum of Maine Heritage in Union, Maine. This big front section here is the Moxie wing. It's a whole wing of Moxie. It's the largest collection of Moxie memorabilia in the country open to the public. Just quick samples. Now, why would we have all this Moxie in Union, Maine? It's because the inventor was born in Union. Dr. Augustine Thompson was born and raised in Union, Maine. He was born in 1835. And when the Civil War broke out, he joined the Union cause, was mustered into the 28th Regiment. He's front and center of this photo here. His regiment was sent off to Louisiana. He was shot 3 times by the enemy, charging the enemy in Louisiana. And I want to pause there for a moment. Let's think about this. What was it like in the Civil War? If you got shot, what usually happened?
You died.
Amputation if you're lucky.
Oh, amputation.
Or infection. He was shot in the chest, the shoulder, and the leg. It lived. He must have had a lot of Moxie.
Yeah.
Crazy to think about the inventor of Moxie killed people.
After the war, he went to apothecary / homeopathy medical school in Philadelphia. Got his medical degree 2 years later in 1867. And set up shop in Lowell, Massachusetts. At that time, Lowell, Massachusetts was a hotbed for snake oil remedies. Fake cures. You know, lots of alcohol or cocaine or other nasty substitutes.
It'll cure it.
It'll cure it permanently.
And
Just a quick
radio.
example. One of them was called Dr. Ayer's Cathartic Pills. Dr. Ayer wasn't a doctor. He just put that on there to sell his pills. When he died in 1878, he was worth $20 million in 1878 funds, or $500 million today. It was big bucks. And Dr. Thompson wanted in on the game. But being from Maine being a teetotaler state mostly at that time, he was against alcohol, and with his medical degree, he wanted to make something that was actually healthful. And in homeopathy, it's not like a one and done. It's littles over time. So he invented Moxie nerve food, which you take by the teaspoonful to help the nerves. Or help digestion, because what he'd mixed in there was something called gentian root, which is a digestive aid. This ad is from my personal collection. I don't have a huge collection of Moxie. This is from the back page of the Youth Companion magazine, June 1895. And I wanted to mention Youth Companion magazine because this is just so wrong. Remember, this is before the Food and Drug Act of 1906, so you can make all kinds of claims. A delicious and healthful beverage of the greatest value to persons suffering from nervousness or incipient paralysis. And I'll stop right there. Incipient paralysis, it was the 1890s term for impotence.
Ooh.
So, Moxie's promoting itself as Viagra. Isn't that great, huh? Yeah.
Except no substitutes.
Except no substitute. And so, like I said, he was selling his take by the teaspoon medicine. And then he saw the carbonation was starting to take off. And so sometime probably in 1884, which will explain why you see 1884 on a lot of the bottles, he started carbonating it. He took out a patent on his product on September 1st, 1885. On the patent, he said he was starting to bottle it in April of 1885. But the Matthews Museum has records showing that he was buying supplies prior to that date. So, who knows? So this is why I'm not too afraid of saying 1884. Moxie collectors will settle on both the 1884 and 1885 date for carbonated Moxie. And most of them go with 1876 for Moxie nerve food. And as I mentioned before, there is literature showing it could have been earlier. Dr. Thompson remained with the company until 1893, and then he sold the rights for $15,000 a year, or what we're looking at now, $155,000 a year. Not bad. He then turned to just making plays. He wrote plays. He passed away in 1903. Two of his sons remained active with the company until the 1930s. I need a quick sip. I'm going dry real quick. Except no substitutes. Get yourself some Moxie. And now you want to keep track of your Franks. There's a lot of Franks involved with Moxie. One of Dr. Augustine Thompson's sons was Frank. And then we have Frank Archer. Frank Archer joined the Moxie Company in 1896 and worked his way up to present. He was a marketing genius. I'm only going to show a few examples of some of the stuff he came up with that helped make Moxie become number one by 1920, the number one soft drink in the country. First off, we have the bottle wagons.
Oh, a big bottle.
He's given credit for this, but this was actually with the Moxie Company before he came on board. They would have these drivers drive around their carriages with these giant Moxie bottles. And then they would park and get into the Hall of Bottle and sell Moxie by the glassful for a nickel out of the bottle. Pretty neat. The photo on the left, it's hard to see, but it says Moxie Nerve Foods. That predates 1906. This photo is from Camden, Maine in 1903. And then this other one, this dapper gentleman, I don't remember where it was taken, but you can see it was from 1906 because it's got the new Moxie by itself logo.
I'm so happy.
The Moxie Bottle House. In 1903, there was a food expo in Boston. And so they made this giant 10-foot diameter, 30-foot tall bottle.
Chug.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Yes, chug. We'll get to that in a moment. This bottle breaks down into 12 panels for the cylinder, another 6 for the neck, and then the cap that sits on top is 200 pounds. I know I helped reassemble this bottle at the museum. After the Food Expo in 1903, it went around the Northeast circuit of fairs, carnivals, and festivals. It spent time at Coney Island, and eventually in 1909 was set up at Pine Island Park in Manchester, New Hampshire, where it sat for 10 years selling Moxie. It was then abandoned. Some people took it down, took it across the pond from the park, and set it up as their cottage on the lake. Now, I could just imagine how much trouble their kids must have gotten into in school in the fall. What did you do for the summer? I slept in a bottle. That family, after a year, sold it to a second family, which added on a cottage, as you can see. And then they put floors inside the bottle, and those floors became bedrooms for the kids. Pretty neat. They shingled it over, and that's the only reason it survived. And then members of that family used it for about 90 years. And then they put it up for sale. Neighbor bought it, but wanted to tear it down because he just wanted the property. Realizing it was known as the Moxie Bottle House, and knowing that it was historical, he didn't want to just tear it down, so he offered the bottle up for sale.